right, good morning. Welcome to joining us today in today's broadcast. So today's class is a Hatha 1 class that'll be focusing on hamstrings and hips. You'll need a strap, and at some point I'll be using the wall to help you with your hips. So a couple announcements. I'm starting a new class, and it's going to be on Zoom. You can register for that class on my website. It's jonwittyoga.com. And by registering through it, you'll get a link for that class. You'll need that link to take the class. It's a class where I can look at you as I'm teaching the class and give you cues and specifically making your practice better. It's very similar to taking a class with me live. And I'll be available after the class to help you with anything that you'd like to develop in terms of practice. My website has been updated, so we've delivered 50 masks to a clinic in San Francisco, and we're in the process of making another 100 masks for different clinics and hospitals, both East and West Coast. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, that's Jon Witt. And by subscribing, you'd be updated with all the content that I'm providing in terms of my yoga. And by doing so, that you'll always have it. It's always available. And that's something that you could just reoccur and take the classes at any time. So how we're going to start today's class is in a seated position. So by sitting cross-legged, you may want to sit on something higher, and let's just say you couldn't sit cross-legged, you could have your feet together, you could have your legs out wide as well, or legs forward. Just in crossing the legs, like we're going to cross our legs here, I'm squeezing my legs together, and by squeezing my legs together, I could use my hands. So he's sitting nice and tall and upright. I'm going to be moving my body laterally. And by moving side to side, I'm always trying to think of getting a little bit taller, a little bit more upright through the upper body, and just kind of see what type of range is best for yourself. So if I'm moving in a much bigger range, can also be can be obviously good, but for you may want to be not moving as much as we are, right? So we're going to come back into the middle. And I'm going to create a big circular motion with my spine, my torso. So what you're wanting to do is articulating through your back. So if it's not moving very well, like I said, I would move it a little bit slower. And by moving, it's going to help with moving the pelvis forward and back, which is what you'll need for forward bending and for back bending. So we'll come back in the middle, and we're going to circle around in the opposite direction. Whenever I'm moving, when I remember, I'm thinking about moving through something that's resistant, and by moving through resistance, you'll get stronger, and it'll help you move better. So we're going to come back into the middle and recross the legs. So by recrossing the legs, it's just, you may sit the same way always, right? I'm going to take my left hand to the left. And then by reaching the left hand to the left, I'm going to be side bending through the right side. And then I could be moving forward with my torso. I could be leaning back. I could take my hand behind my head. If I take my hand behind my head, I want to lift the chin and lift the chest. So as I'm lifting the chest and I'm going off to the right, I'm using my abdominals to enhance the right side, which is, your QL, your hip. So we'll bring it back up, and then when you come back up, you're going to slide the right hand to the right side and reach the left hand to the left. And by reaching the left hand to the left hand could be behind the head. And I say this all the time. You'll notice that you'll get down lower on one elbow. And by getting down lower, it's not necessarily better, but that side of your upper body is shorter, and it can be problematic. So, it's nothing to worry about, but when you look in a mirror, you'll see oh, my right shoulder is lower. Well, that's the side that you want to pick up more. That's the side that you want to get more space on. So lean back in space if that's something that you need. And then take the left arm up to the left, and then you can bring yourself back up. So just take the legs into a wide position, so a little bit wider than the shoulders, and then the knees are bent. So with your knees bent, you're going to take the knees to the right side, and you're going to inhale, take them up, and take them to the left, and maybe it's not a full range of motion. You're going to take them up again, right side, to the left, right? And then we're going to come back to center, and then when you come back to center, I'm going to have my feet just under, a little bit more forward than my knees, and my hands are going to be down. I'm going to push through my hands and lift through the chest. So you may not be able to lift your hips, but we're going to try to lift the hips up off the floor. And by lifting through the hips, you should feel a good amount of strength being developed in the hamstrings and the hips. Now you don't have to take the head back, but you could, and if you do take the head back, you're lifting through the chest. You know, maybe you're not holding it as long as I am. And then you can bring your hips down, and then when you bring your hips down, what we're going to do is bring your right leg on top of your left leg. So you're in just a lotus type of position, or a figure four type of position. I'm going to slide my left foot back as best that I can. So maybe it's here, right? Then it's eventually over here. And then, you know, I'm just, as an example, I'm just showing you that you can come in closer. So maybe you're coming in closer, the hips are down, the chest is raised. And something like this is just passive stretching, right? But what you could add on to is think of squeezing your shin to your chest. Like think of bringing your right leg closer to your chest, and it's a really good way of helping to strengthen the hip. You can slide the left leg forward, and then bring the right leg back down the floor, and then take the left leg up, and then you can slide the right leg back. Now this hip might be more flexible, this hip might be tighter. This side for me is trickier. You know, I can go into a fuller range if I want to, right? But again, not all the way is not necessarily the best way. I mean, it aesthetically looks better, right? But it may not be best for you. And then I'm going to slide the right leg forward, and then I'm going to bring the left leg back. I'm going to bring the feet back again and have the hands down, and then lift the hips up off the floor and broaden the shoulders. So the legs don't have to be at a perfect 90-degree angle, but if they are, you know, it's just you know, it's probably better for your knee if you have problematic knees. I'm going to take the head back, I'm going to lift through the hips, broaden through the shoulders, and then bring the hips down, and then just bring your hips a little bit more forward toward your feet, just to expose your chest and your shoulders a little bit more. And then when your shoulders and your chest are a little bit more exposed, this will help with what's very popular in yoga is interlacing the fingers and coming into a forward bend. But most likely you'll need a lot more weight to develop your shoulders in a position like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my hips back, and then just come into a seated position and make your hand into a fist, and just pull on the fist to stretch out the forearm. So it's the beginning of loading the wrist. So I'm stretching the forearm, and by making the fist, so making a fist like you're going to punch something, and by pulling the hand back towards the arm, you'll stretch out more of the forearm. And then I'll take the left hand forward, and then I'll pull it back. So like to be on the floor and doing this can be quite difficult for people. This is a very basic thing to do. You can open the hand and then close it. But again, I would be working on my hands, my wrist, if I want to do more work on my hands with my yoga. So you can release that, and then just open and close the hands and fingers is the basic thing of doing. I'm just going to move the fingers individually. And by moving the fingers individually, right, it'll help with the wrists and help with the shoulders, right? So you could use a strap. I'm not going to use a strap, but I'm going to hold my foot and have my left leg forward. And I'm going to try to get my knee and my armpit together. So this is, you know, just for posture, trying to lift up away from the leg that I'm holding. And this could be all that you know, this is very good for your understanding how to position yourself better in poses. Now I could stretch the leg forward, so you're not ready for that. You don't have to. right? And then you can bring it down, and then we'll bring the left leg back. Noah will bring his right leg back. So I'm getting my knee and my armpit together. And again, it's just like when you're twisting, back bending, you're gonna wanna get more space between the shoulders.
I can get it straight.
Yeah, and then if you straighten it out, great, It's just, I know very well that people, when they start getting into yoga, like it's hamstrings. So before any of these classes, you could always work on your hamstrings a little bit more, on your back with the strap, and then eventually you'll be able to, do more forward bending, whether it's standing or sitting. So we'll bring that leg down. So we'll come into an all four position. So you can come onto your hands and your knees. So when you come onto your hands and your knees, just have the hands underneath the shoulders and push through the hands, and you can round the spine into a cat stretch. And then in a cat stretch, this is really what you're trying to do, is articulate through the upper back. And then you can look forward, you can look up, you can back bend, you can exhale, you can round the spine, round your back. We'll back bend again, we'll lift the chin, we'll lift the chest. And then we'll exhale, we'll round your back. Right? And then come back to neutral. Take the hands to the left side and look high over the left shoulder. So if I can't lift my head any higher than I am, I'm going to bring it lower so that I can relax, and then I can lift it up again. So you don't want to be stuck in any of these positions. I say that often just so that, again, you always have an out. You can take the hands to the right side, you can lift the head, you can lift the chest, articulate through the upper body, the spine. Again, the head can be lower, it doesn't have to be up like this. And then come back into the middle and just have the hands underneath the shoulders, round through the shoulders, and lift the knees up off the floor, come up into a plank pose. And when you're pushing through the hands, you can round through the shoulders. So maybe you're on your forearms, right, which is a great thing to use. So take 3 deep breaths here. Grip the floor, broaden your back, broaden your shoulders. Right, go up into a down dog, and then in a down dog, think that I'm pulling your hips back in space. Or I'm pulling your shoulders forward in space. So you're pushing quite strong through the hands, and you're pulling back through the hips. And I want to keep my belly and my ribs in. So I don't want to just hang out in the pose. Not that that's bad, but if you really want to expose more of your legs and your upper body, the strengthening the abdomen really makes a difference. So look at your hands from time to time, point the index fingers forward, and rotate the shoulders out. It shouldn't hurt, but you're gradually rotating the shoulders more out, and that'll help expose your back more. So come forward into a plank, and then in a plank, what we're going to do is just come down onto the elbows. So you can come down on the knees, come down on the forearms, and then lift the knees up off the floor. So make your front body smaller and stronger, so you can round through the shoulders. Take 3 deep breaths here. I say this all the time, move the weight around just in case you don't necessarily know how you're holding the weight. And then bring yourself down with your hips, and then pull yourself forward. So you're, in a sphinx position. Look high over the right shoulder. Look high over the left. Bring yourself center, and feel how your hips relate to the floor. So you may actually need more weight in one hip than the other. And then bring yourself down, and then when you come down, you're going to bring the arms into a 90-degree angle. So keep the head down if you can. Lift the arms up off the floor. I'm making my hands into fists, and I'm trying to get wider. Again, I'm only going to go further, if my body allows it to. So if it's not happening, over time it will. Bring the arms down for a moment, just rest. We're going to do that one more time. Take the arms up, strengthen your shoulders, strengthen your back. A great way to help rotate the shoulders back onto the back. And then bring the arms down. Now, take the arms beside you and lift the chest, lift the feet off the floor. So just a more kind of active way, but I say this often, when you get into cobra and up dog, you don't want to just use your arms. You want to use the strength of your back to lift yourself up. So keep lifting, bring yourself down, and just take a breath or two, just relax. So this is more like a classical yoga technique, is that usually you'd relax quite a bit in between poses. It's just not as popular in Western culture, but it's a very good form of practice. So take the hands underneath the shoulders. You can lift yourself up into a low cobra, and you can come up into a high cobra if you want to come up higher. So lift from the pubic bone, lift from the sternum, lift through the top of the head. And just, if you don't have body awareness, I wouldn't hold this really long, but if you do and you're like, wow, these things are developing, that's why we want to hold things longer. So bring yourself forward, bring yourself down, have your hands just underneath your shoulders, tuck the toes, lift straight up into a plank, and go back up into a down dog. So go all the way back up into a down dog, pull back with the hips and the thighs, think the arms are pulling forward. Right, take 3 deep breaths here. Right, move the hips back in space. You can look to one hand or turn the upper body. I'm moving the weight back in space. So I'm gonna come forward with the feet. I'm gonna walk the feet forward, and then I'm gonna walk the hands back towards the feet so that I'm in a standing forward bend. So take the hands to the left side, change the angle, pull the abdomen in. Right, take the hands to the right side. Bring the hands back into the middle. Right, and roll yourself up into a standing position. So come all the way up. And then when you come up, right, adjust the feet if they're crooked, right, make them more straight if you can. Take the hands behind you and lift up onto the toes, lift the heels. So broad shoulders, broad upper back. Take a couple deep breaths here. Lower the heels and take the hands behind the head. So my elbows are in, which rotates the shoulder out. My elbows are wide, my shoulders are actually rotating in, which, you want your shoulders to rotate back most likely. Everybody would need that. So move the head back in space. As you move the head back, you're trying to go up, rather than just back. So I'm using my glutes. I'm going up in space. You can certainly go back further, but you want to be moving throughout the spine, not just your lower back. Come back up to center, take the arms overhead. Come up on the toes, lift the heels off the floor. So just kind of see, your head's crooked or shoulders are crooked. Squeeze the legs in if they're falling out. And then lower the heels. And exhale, you can lower the arms. So we're going to take the feet a little bit wider than the shoulders. A wide stance, depending on how long your legs are. Turn the right foot out, take the arms out wide, lift the thighs up and out, and bend the right knee. And like anything, it really depends on what you're trying to do with the pose. So if I respect if you're really wanting to create more flexibility, well then, you can really make these stances longer, and again, it just shouldn't hurt. You could look over the right hand, flip the right palm, and you can lean back into the left side. So I'm trying to go up in space. I can, go back. You want to go back further, but you don't necessarily have to. You can always go up. Right? Come back into a warrior two and bring your right forearm on your right thigh. And with your right forearm on your right thigh, you're trying to lift up away from the strong back leg. And if it's better to reach lower, you reach lower. So take the left arm up to the ceiling. You could take it forward. You could look to the hand. If you're looking to the hand, it's more extension. So I like turning to the arm with the head, but it could be, looking to the hand. Bring yourself back up into a warrior two for a couple of breaths. Lift the thighs up and out, and then bring yourself back up. Turn the right foot in, turn the left foot to the left. Take the arms wide, And then bend through the left knee and lift the thighs up and out. So again, it's a matter of what are you trying to develop in a pose? You know, what's the objective? What's the intent? So I'm lifting the pubic bone up. Again, there's some strength in the abdomen. I'm going to turn through the left palm. I'm going to lean back into the right side. And again, it's the beauty of these poses, they're asymmetrical. So you'd be like, oh, I really need this pose for this specific reason, and then I need the other side for a specific reason. So come back into a warrior two, or a side angle position, so the left forearm is on the left thigh. Now again, you could go lower, you know. They all have their purposes in terms of depth. And I haven't said this often, but whole practice could be up against a wall. So if you really want to correct your posture, that's a very good way of doing it. So the arm could be forward. You could be looking to the hand. Broad thighs. You know, maybe it's up. And then bring yourself back up into a warrior two. Right? And then bring yourself back up and bring your arms down. And turn both of your feet forward. Slightly in is good too. Have the hands on the hips. Come forward halfway. And if I'm halfway, you know, you'll feel, you know, pretty sizable stretch through the back of the legs. If I'm all the way down, then it gets more into your back. So I'm just going to go for the classic kind of way. You can come forward, you can come down. You know, you're bending the elbows, and it's straight back. If you can easily get the head to the floor, I make it more narrow. You know, then it's going to be a little bit trickier, but it's going to be more lengthening the spine and getting, you know, it's going to help progress you. So if you can, just come up with the hands, and maybe you're already out. Maybe you're not spending this time forward. I'm going to take the feet out a little bit wider. And as I take the feet out wider, I'm squeezing the legs in at times, but I'm also thinking that I'm lifting the legs up and out. And you'll most likely need both. You know, it's not just one or the other. Great thing about the hands being down is you can regulate how much pressure you want in the legs. So I'm going to toe heel the feet in a little bit closer, and I'm going to bring myself back up. And when I come back up, feel if your stance is too long, right? If it's too long, make it narrow. But I'm going to stay upright. And as I'm upright and in this upright position, my legs are wide, I'm going to try to take the legs out wider. Now you could use a chair, right? Like I said, if you're unstable, or use a wall. But you want, in this type of variation, as your legs are strong and you're using your body weight to manipulate the hips. And again, it's very rare that I go as far as I can go. You know, I'll go, you know, to that line, but I'm not really exceeding it, because I know that I can practice more later in the day, or I can practice more tomorrow, which I love, because then I can keep reoccurring my practice. So bring your feet in a little bit closer, and then you can bring your feet to step in. You could hop in, right? But continue to use your feet, and beauty of being barefoot is that you'll really manipulate the feet more, and that'll help contribute to having better flexibility and function. You know, when I'm walking and I'm paying attention, I'm really trying to use my whole entire foot, you know, when I'm in my shoes, so that I'm not just just using momentum, which a lot of people use in terms of walking. So take the feet out a little bit wider than the shoulders. We're going to do a triangle. So turn the right foot out, have the back foot in at 45. You know, grip the floor, like I said about using your feet. Your feet are like your hands, right? Take the arms out wide. You're going to reach out to the right. You could grab the right shin or the thigh, and you know, I'm turning through the upper body, extending through the top of the head. Now again, you could get lower, you know. You could grab the foot. You could take the left arm up, broad shoulders, broad upper back. I did this, I think in the last class. So I'm turning the shoulder out, my hands into a fist. and then I'm rotating the arm in. You can notice how easy that is, right? But then rotate it out. So that's most likely what you're gonna need. And then you could be in like the classic position. Bring yourself back up, turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out. And with the left foot out, take the arms out wide, push through the feet, extend out through the left, take the top arm up, hands into a fist. I'm rotating the thumb back, right? So I'm opening up the shoulder, and then I'm gonna rotate the arm in, which is internal rotation. And you need both, right? But rotating out is most likely what you need more. That's all of our shoulders round forward more than they really should. And then the hand could be up. And then inhale, bring yourself back up. You can turn the left foot in and then just step the feet back together, just a neutral position. So I'm gonna take my left leg up into my chest with or without my hands. I'm gonna lift it up, a little bit more just so that you can see with the hand. And the good thing is you don't have to do one or the other, but you can use both. I'm gonna take it out to the left, but when you take it out to the left, see where it's stiff or weak, and that's the angle that you really need your leg to be in. All the way out, like I said, is a good aesthetic, but right about here is actually, for me, is more difficult than all the way out. So I like it here as well. You could bring it in, and you could add some weight, but I'm pushing into the thigh, and then I'm gonna bring the leg down. You can take the right leg up, and again, use a chair or a wall. Use the hand to take it up. And say you need motion, right? It could be a motion, it doesn't have to be static. So when I'm practicing on my own, I'm not being videotaped or anything like that. My practice may look different than what I'm actually showing people, just to give you an experience. But that's why I give a lot of people, when I'm teaching live, more options in terms of making the practice healthier for themselves. So keep the leg lifting, bring it in. I'm pushing into the knee, the thigh. And if you got ankle weights or you got a heavy book, it's a good way to help develop the hips. And then you can bring the right foot down. So we're gonna come to the top of the mat. I really believe in lunging. We're gonna go into a lunge series. So take the arms up overhead. Exhale, fold forward into a forward fold. As you fold forward, step the left foot back into a lunge. And in a lunge, see if you can get the armpit and the knee together if your hands are flat. If you're up on a chair or a block, you're up higher. But I'm gonna take the right arm up to the ceiling. I'm gonna twist to the top arm. Take a couple deep breaths here. And then bring the right hand down and then bring the back knee down the floor. And take the hands over to the left side, and you can look high over the left shoulder, you can lift the head, you can lift the chest. And as you're doing that, train the eyes. Get the eyes to move more, and you'll be able to move your body better. Take the hands on the inside, and again, you can kind of see how I'm moving around. You could be doing the same. You'll lean to where you're already flexible, whether you're a beginner or not. You lean to where you're already developed. So try to get into areas of the body where you don't necessarily always go to. Now I could get lower with the arms to blocks. I could get lower to the floor. At some point, this could be progressive as well. There's other ways that you can make it more progressive. So just take a few breaths here. Deep breathing. Right, and then I'm going to come up, and then when I come up, I'm going to take my left leg up into my bum. So I'm going to lift it up, and then I'm going to bring it down. So when you take it up, see if is it the hamstring that makes it so difficult? Is that weak? Or is it the tightness in the front of your body? You can bring it down. We'll do it one more time. You can pull it up, and say you do want to grab the foot, that's always available. You could be doing that. I'm going to release the foot. I'm going to sit back with the hips, and then just point through the foot and flex it, and point it and flex it. Now, whether it's pointed or flex, try to take the foot a little bit off the floor, right? It takes a lot of strength to pull it up. And then you can bring it down. Take the left leg outside of the right leg. So pull it up. I'm still trying to pull the leg into my chest. Lifting it up. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take the back knee off the floor. I'm going to come up into a warrior one. So coming up into a Vera one. And when you come up, hands could be wider than the shoulders. You're trying to move tailbone down and pubic bone up. So push through the feet, lift through the upper body. Have the right leg straight, right? And move the left foot in a little bit closer. So you could come to a flat back position, but I'm gonna do a twisted triangle. So take the left arm up to the ceiling, and then bring the left hand on the inside or the outside of the right ankle. So it could be here up on a block. You know, I like the stability, I like the floor. You could take the right arm up to the ceiling. So turn through the upper body. Left hand could be more forward. Doesn't have to be on the outside. So it's just a matter of where you want it. Now if I take the hand more forward, which I'm doing, it's actually going to make me a little bit longer, which I like. Push through the right foot. Turn through the upper body. Right? Bring your right hand down and move your left foot in. And then just have the right leg straight and come up where you're lifting the front of your foot up off the floor. Now you could have a block underneath you as well, right? But like I said before, try to lift the leg into the upper body and then bend the right knee and then step the left foot forward. So separate the feet a little bit wider than the shoulders, grab the elbows, push the thighs apart, right? Sit lower if you want to a squat. So armpits and knees are together eventually, and squatting, that's a good way. I've said this before, you could hold on to something that has a little bit of weight, and that'll help with, getting your heels flat. Fold forward into a forward fold, and then step the right foot back into a lunge. Be really long, be really wide. Widen your stance will help open up the upper body, the back. So my armpit and my knee is together, and I could stay here. I can take the left arm up to the ceiling. You could very well twist to the other direction. Right? So think that I'm pulling your hips back towards your back foot, and you're turning your upper body towards your top arm. Right? Try to find more extension, and it's from the hip. Right? Bring the left hand down, and then bring the right knee down. Then walk the hands over to the right side. You can look high over the right shoulder, lift the head, lift the chest, and then bring the hand on the inside. Again, you can kind of move the weight around, right? Pull the right foot up into the hip, into the bum. So pull it up and in, and then you can bring it down. You can pull it up and in. I could grab the foot if I want it. Does it give you a better effect? And that's the reason that you're doing it. It's different. All the positions, all the different techniques are different. So bring the left hand down, and then the beauty of grabbing the foot or doing that type of way, it should be a lot easier to get lower. And that's a big reason why I'm doing it. So when you're low like this, I'm still strong, right? I'm pushing my right foot into the floor, I'm pushing my left foot into the floor. So if someone just saw me doing yoga, again, it looks like stretching, which is a big part of it, but there's tension happening, and that's what makes the yoga safe. It's not going to hurt you if you're doing it correctly. And then come up onto the hands, and when you come up onto the hands, you're going to bring the left hand on the outside of the left foot. So sit the hips back in space. So you can point through the foot. You can flex it. You can point it, you can flex it. Now, to take the foot up off the floor, where it takes quite a bit of strength. You don't have to do that, but you could try. And then you can bring that foot down. Now I can take the right hand on the outside of the left ankle. So one of the last things that I'm doing is a twisted triangle. So maybe this is a way safer and better position. So you don't have to do all that, right? You could be staying here. All right, bring the right hand down, bring the back knee up off the floor and come up into a warrior one. So use your feet, lift yourself up, find the right kind of stance in terms of how long your legs are. So a short stance is good because it's really stable. A longer stance is good too, you know, it creates more space. I like something in between, so you can lift the pubic bone up and then have the left leg straight, have the left hand on the left hip, and then move the right foot in a bit closer and draw the left hip back in space. So you're trying to cut the hip back into bringing the right hand on the inside or the outside of the ankle, and then taking the left arm up to the ceiling. Again, if you're not fully satisfied with what you're doing, change the position of the hand. Bring it higher, bring it lower, bring it more forward, bring it on the inside, you know. Don't get in the pattern of always doing it the same way. So turn through the belly, turn through the ribs. Take 2 deep breaths here. Extend again through the top of the head. And then bring the left hand down. You could bend the left knee and then step the right foot forward. So both feet are forward. And then what you'll do is you'll step your left foot over your right foot. So it's a cross-reference forward bend. So in crossing the legs, it's a lot very similar to what we were just using. So when you're forward, you're down, pubic bones moving down, in between the thighs, head's dropping down. Take 2 deep breaths here. And then bring the weight into the hands, bring the left foot next to the right, and step the right foot over the left. And then with the right foot over the left, you're forward, you're down. Again, it's more of an internal practice. So you're connecting to your breathing, you're connecting into pelvic floor eventually. That's happening as you're breathing, but you're really connecting. A great place to start is the abdomen and the musculature around the ribs. So take a couple deep breaths here. And then you can bring the weight into the hands and then bring the right foot next to the left. And we're gonna come down onto your hands and your knees, and you could sit on any kind of surface. I'm just gonna sit on 1 block. You're welcome to sit on 2 blocks. I really believe in this pose for most people, but if I was working with you and you had questions about it, there's a lot of different things you could do when, again, things don't work for yourself. So if I'm sitting on a block, I'm squeezing the feet into the block. I may pull the skin back on the knee. So it's just, because the anatomy of the knee, the tuberosity can be a little, it can be a lot for the patella tendon. So you may need blankets underneath the shins, not the knees, because then the knees are off the floor. So it's where you place your props can be really essential. So I'm gonna take the arms into a cactus position. I'm gonna make the hands into fists. Then I'm gonna bring the hands forward and down. So if my shoulders are relaxed enough, I can take the hands down lower. Not that that's important. It's something that you can do. Then you can inhale, you can take the arms up, cactus position. And then you can bring them forward, you can bring them down. Right, and then you can take the arms back into a neutral position and then all the way back down. So just turn the palms up towards the ceiling and then just slide the hands back. So good for anyone, to get the shoulders back. You can slide them forward and you can slide them back. Right, there's binding, and I do this in classes, right? But it's really, I usually use that just as a test for people in terms of what they can do with their shoulders. But at some point I'll share with what I use with a TheraBand, and that's really, really great for shoulders and your back. So I'm gonna do a camel from here, but you could continue to sit like this. Let's say you're done with this. You could stretch your legs forward, You could use a strap and stretch out your legs. But just if I sit lower, it'll help with camel. So if you really struggle with camel and that's a pose that you want to develop, sit lower with your Virasana, and then eventually you can do Supta Virasana positions, right? So I'm gonna come up onto my knees, and I say this often, I really like the asymmetrical way approach, because the majority of your spine is meant to twist, and that's the thoracic. So if I'm up on my toes, easier to grab the foot. And again, really not important to grab the foot. You know, you might be better off here, just looking to the hand. You could certainly look up. So I'm just gonna do like more of a motion. So I'm gonna go back, couple breaths, something like that, and then come up. But you wanna emphasize on using your glutes. So if you felt your butt, there should be tension here, tailbones down, and then bring yourself back up. You can go to the right, you know, reach for the foot, right, go up. Again, you'll see like, wow, it's so easy to grab that one foot. Well, that side of the spine is shorter. Bring yourself up. You can go back. So even though I'm going back, I'm adding tension in the front of the body, and that's what's helping to stretch you out more. And then you can bring yourself back up, and then just come into a seated position, but just bring your legs forward and just circle your feet in a circular motion. So just get the feet to circle around the opposite direction. You can point the feet, you can flex the feet, you can point, you can flex. And then go back to bending the knees like we did earlier in the class. Push through the hands, rotate the shoulders out, lift the hips up off the floor. So again, this will help you with doing side plank and eventually like handstands if that's something that you aspire to do. You could move the head back. Those of you that aren't in love with camel, this really isn't a lot of flexibility in the spine. It's great for your shoulders and your wrists. You can move the head back, and then you can bring the head forward, and you can bring the hips down. So just have the legs, feet as wide as, say, a little wider than your shoulders, and just bring the knees over to the right side. So just to the right. You'll feel quite a bit of internal rotation on the left hip. Hips don't have to touch the floor, but some people it will. Bring the knees back up, and then take the knees over to the left side. The knees over to the left. Just staying upright. For some people, this is really more beneficial than going forward over the front leg, right? Then take the legs up, bring the knees over to the right side, and then what you can do, I'm gonna use a block, I'm gonna hold the block, it's gonna keep myself upright, but have your hands down and bring yourself forward. That's good for you. All right, but I'm gonna squeeze into the block. I'm gonna bring myself forward however much I need to, right? I'm not really concerned with how much I'm going, because again, it's not always that important. So I'm finding a good amount of exposure in my hip, and I have to stay strong in this, and I'm still thinking that my right leg is pulling to my chest. Like I don't want to just hang out here. I think it's better to be more active. I'm gonna come up, sit for a couple breaths in an upright position. I'm gonna come forward again. So again, squeeze the leg, or think that the leg's lifting towards the block or the arms. And again, if you're like, oh, this is so much safer and better with my hands down, that's how you should do it, right? It's a matter of opinion for you and what you're in your body, right? Your body's telling you exactly what to do. Bring yourself back up. You can lift your knees up, take your knees to the left. As you take your knees to the left, have your hands down. If you're just learning this, have your hands down. Get really familiar with it. As you get more understanding, you could use the block, and you can come forward. And this could be a pillow too. It doesn't have to be a yoga block. You can move yourself forward. But again, I'm still thinking that my left leg is moving to my chest. And when I was warming up, I really felt like a lot of stuff, and I typically do on my left side. I don't feel as much tension as I did before, and hopefully the same is for you, whether it's the right or the left side. So bring yourself back up, come forward, keep the extension in the spine, because then it makes it more hip specific if you round. Not that that's bad at all, but it's going to be less about your hips that you're adjusting. And then you can bring yourself back up. And then when you come back up, to end the class or to finish up in the class, I'm going to do some stuff at the wall. You don't have to, but it's something that I'm going to eventually do. So I'm going to lie back on my back. I'm going to do a bit of bridge. So go back onto your back. Eventually I'm going to scoot to my wall. You could go to a wall where, so that you could do the same. So have the hands just over the elbows and lift the hips up off the floor. Lift through the pelvis, broaden through the shoulders, broaden through the back, ground down through the heels, and lift through the pubic bone. Now if you can, take your right leg on top of your left. So it's an ankle to knee position. Then bring the right leg down. Inhale, take the left leg up. All right, and again, it's just, there's so many layers to it. It may not look perfect, but you're over time, you're manipulating your tissues so that your body functions better. Again, I wouldn't get so much caught up with what your poses look like or if they're incorrect or wrong. I mean, there's things that you can definitely do to make them better, but again, it's a continuing work of progress. So ground down through the shoulders, bring the left foot down, and then, again, heavy shoulders, and then you can bring your hips down. We're gonna do this something similar to the wall. So I'm gonna slide forward, and you could be at a 90-degree angle. So my left leg is at the wall, and I'm gonna take my right leg on top, and I'm gonna have my hands underneath my elbows. I'm gonna push through my left foot into the wall and elevate the hips. So when you're doing this, again, when you're lowering the hips, you might feel like, oh, that's exactly what I need in my hip. So you could hold that longer. It doesn't have to be all the way down, right? So push through the foot, lift the hips up, and then you can slowly lower back down. Now if you can, interlace your fingers between your toes. And if you have overlapping toes, just use your pointer finger to do that. So it's good to separate the toes and keep them separated so you can hold on to that. Push your right hand into your right thigh. Right? It shouldn't hurt the knee, and if it is, there's probably something pre-existing in the knee. But it could be, when you're pushing into your thigh, if your hip is very tight, then the default joint is the knee. So the knee can kind of get overloaded, right, in a negative way. So bring the right foot back into the wall, bring the left foot on top of the thigh, and then ground down through the shoulders, but lift the hips up off the floor. And then, slowly lower yourself down. And again, just about all the way down. I feel that's where I should be on this side, but maybe all the way down is better. So lift the hips one more time, then lower back down, and then you could push the left hand into the left thigh. Now I'm pushing the hand into the leg, but I'm also squeezing the leg into the hand, if that makes sense. So I want to be moving my knee to my shoulders or my chest. Now you could interlace the fingers between the toes. Say pushing's negative, it hurts. You don't have to push at all. Again, if we were having conversations about how you're doing this, I would do it differently for many people. There's a crossover, right? But go back to bringing the left foot into the wall. Now if that was easy, move closer to the wall with your hips. You don't have to move super close, but you can. And then when you move in closer, it's going to be more hip related. So bring the right leg on top of the left, right? And then lift the hips up off the floor, and then lower down. Lift them up again, and then lower back down. Now push the right hand into the thigh. Breathe, use your breath. Some people might need something underneath their lower back, like a towel or a blanket. You gotta find the right height. And that's something that for any of these classes, just have them readily available for your lower back or for your neck. Some of you might need something for your head. Over time you won't. And then bring the right foot into the wall, and then bring the left leg on top of the right leg, and then lift the hips. It doesn't have to be incredibly high, but high enough. And then slowly lower, right? Lift them up again. And then lower. And then you can bring the left hand into the left thigh, and you can push. Push into the thigh, resist that. And then the hips, for the most part, and this isn't to discourage anybody, but it really takes a long time to develop for most people. I mean, some people are very flexible in the hips. Obviously, I'm not talking about people like that. For someone that's really flexible in the hips, it's important to stay strong in the hips so that it doesn't become unstable. Like, you don't want to be hypermobile in any joint. But with this, for most people, really pretty tight through the outside of the hip, and that's why I'm doing it. So take a couple deep breaths here. All right. And then you can bring the left foot down. Now if you have a strap, you could grab that strap. And then what we'll do is, just so that you can see the difference in your hips, that's really why I'm doing it. Not so much it'll feel good too, but take the right leg up, and then when you take the right leg up into the strap, you could pull on it. I could be manipulating it. I can come up with the head and the shoulders. You can come back down with the head and the shoulders. Hold with the left hand, and then take the right leg out to the right. Or left, excuse me. Right leg is over left. Now if I'm on my left elbow, it's just good because I can hang out here. You could put your leg on a chair. I could look over the right hand. Nice opening of the right hip. And then you can inhale, you can take the right leg up. Take the left leg up into the strap. Bring the right leg down. We're getting close to the end, so if you're a person that needs to be somewhere, right, you can always take off, but you could also start your relaxation. I say that often in my classes, when you're ready to rest, that's the time to rest. And that could be, that's the beauty of yoga, is that you're never it's pretty efficient, and anybody that's running classes is that never getting really completely exhausted. Some classes are more physical, then sure, that you can come back down with the head and the shoulders. You could hold with the right hand, but if it's more, yoga and the design, then it should be layered, in that you can develop good flexibility and strength, and you feel relaxed after it. You could look over the left hand, and again, say you're like, oh, my one side is really just still tight for you. You could always spend more time on that. Like, my left side's it's taking longer to release. You can spend more time on that, right? Then take the left leg up, and then you can bring the left leg down, and I could have the strap off to the side. Now, just come up into a bridge again, push down through the feet, lift through the hips, ground pound through the shoulders. So if you didn't know, I have a class on Fridays now, again at 8 to 9, just playing around with the times just to see what works best for people. And that can change, right? And again, I'm having a Zoom class on Sunday. That's from 10 to 11, and all my classes, all my information's on my website, Jon Witt Yoga. So you can ground jonwittyoga.com. Shoulders are grounded, hips are up. I think I'm pulling your hips forward.
and then bring your hips down, and then bring the soles of your feet together. So push into the thighs, if that's something that you need. And then you can relax in any way. You could have the legs, if you've never had blocks underneath your knees, and that could be at various heights, and I know some people are like, well, I don't feel much of a stretch. You won't feel much of a stretch like I'm on the second level. You won't feel as much of a stretch, but what's happening is that there's a greater relaxation into the tissues, and then when you do take the blocks away, there should be more ease. So even if your legs are really high and they're supported, it can be very good for your hips. I'm a person that sways through the back, so I don't necessarily need something for my lower back, but if I had some lower back pain or kyphosis or herniation, you probably want something underneath your lower back and something for your head initially, but then over time, like I said, then the head is down. So hands could be on you, they could be beside you, you can fully relax. The breath doesn't have to be controlled, but if that gives you more focus, so be it. I'm a person I can relax very easily, almost to a fault. But if I'm really having a hard time being still, you could count backwards by threes or something like that, an odd number, fives, and it just gives you something to focus on. And then over time, you kind of forget, you get out of your head and more in your body. So of course you can lie longer on your back, right? Especially if you have the time to do it. I highly recommend taking more time. But let's say you have to be somewhere, you can reawaken your hands, your feet, you can swallow a couple times. And then in doing so, you should feel a little bit more ready to move. So if you're moving, you could move the knees into the chest. You could simply roll up. You could roll to one side, you could use your hands, you could bring yourself up, and then when you're coming up, you could sit on a higher surface. I'm sitting on 2 blocks. I've said this before, when the blocks are wider, you'll have a better base. Could be, anything, a stack of books, a bolster. And then just turn the palms up, slide the hands back, pull the shoulders back. You could bring your hands together if you'd like. It's just a gesture of thanks. Could be for anything that you're grateful for. Hopefully you have many things that you're grateful for. I'm so grateful that you were here with me today. Have a great day, have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you Sunday on Zoom. Again, you can register on my website, jonwittyoga.com. Namaste.